I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I did not expect to record, but just because of the Kirk Cousins news and the Myles Garrett news, as well as the two games that happened this past weekend, we got to talk about it. Do I have to give you guys just a small little gift just before I unravel my gifts for Christmas? So here goes. Kirk Cousins gets the boot. Myles Garrett gives the Browns an ultimatum. Steelers and Ravens recap. And Chiefs and Texans recap, okay? On the 57th episode of the Football Junkies podcast, okay? I am your host with the most, okay? I am your chief Bagrodamus, okay? I am your GM who currently is not on the team right now, but don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it, my fellow junkies, okay? I am all these things and more, okay? But most importantly, the most important thing that you must remember is I am your host, Kale. You already know what I'm getting ready to say. So guess what? Happy holidays for everybody. Merry Christmas for some. Happy Hanukkah for others. Happy Kwanzaa for others. But guess what? Here's how we're going to celebrate things. 1, 2, 3. Let's lock in. All right, folks, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. So let's just get into it, okay? Kirk Cousins is expected to be cut by the Falcons, okay? But here are a few junky nuggets that we have to bring up concerning this situation, okay? So, for one, he has a no trade clause in his contract. So, most likely, they are not going to trade him. They are probably going to cut him either dead cap or try to spread the dead cap so they can try to soften the blow. Now, Adam Schefter is reporting that it is too early to tell if the Falcons are going to trade or release him. Me personally, I think they're just going to release him and then just try to figure out what they're going to do with the dead cap, because I don't think nobody's going to want to try to take on the deal that Kirk Cousins already has. I think for Kirk Cousins, I think anywhere that he would want to go to, I think they really wouldn't be as interested to give up draft compensation to get him. That's just, my personal opinion as a former GM, okay? Now, we do know he is expected to garner some interest due to a poor, shaky, and if I'm going to be honest here, not really good quarterback draft class next year, as well as the free agency quarterback class isn't good either. So he is probably going to garner some interest from some of those teams. But at the same time, though, I do question why would they make this move now? Because granted, I understand Michael Penix, has a lot of upside to his game. He has a lot of experience. He's similar to Bo Nix as far as, their college football journeys and whatnot. But at the same time, you just gave $90 million to Kirk Cousins. And now you're about to just let him go for nothing. And now you're about to be in the same situation that the Broncos were in with the whole Russell Wilson situation, which is you're going to have a whole lot of dead cap that you're going to have to figure out. Either can you, spread it through, the next 2 or 3 years to soften the blows so that you can still have cap space to surround Michael Penix with talent, or you just take it in, for 1 year and then you just figure out what you're going to do, the years afterwards. So all in all, it's still a weird, questionable decision, but at the same time, I'm not surprised that they would make this move simply because the last few weeks, Kirk Cousins has not played well. Kirk Cousins looked old. He looks diminished. He looks washed. You can definitely tell that he has not really fully recovered from that Achilles injury. And it's moves like these that mess up the quarterback market, because there's going to be quarterbacks that are going to be looking for deals. And guess what? They're going to point to this particular situation because guess what? They can pull up whatever stats that they want, from ESPN, PFF, Pro Football Reference, wherever, and can say, oh, I have better stats than Kirk Cousins. I want a deal similar to Kirk Cousins, or whatever the case may be. And it's these type of situations that mess up the markets for these type of positions for a long time. Case in point, the Christian Kirk deal. That messed up the receiver market for a long time. And if we're being real here, the receiver market still hasn't been able to properly, fix itself. And it's continuing to balloon even more, especially next year, because we know that wherever Jamar Chase goes, he is going to be the first $40 million receiver. I don't care what anyone says. Right now, he is playing at a Triple Crown level. And when he does win the Triple Crown, that's it. He's going to reset the market again. Kirk Cousins was here for an okay time, not a long time. That's just what it is. It wasn't a good time because it really wasn't good. It was just okay. It wasn't, phenomenal. It was an okay time, not a long time. That's it. For them to just get off of him this quickly, I don't know if this was an ownership move. I don't know if this was a front office move. I don't know if this was a coaching move. But I do know this. If they're moving off of him this quickly, there is something that they see with Michael Penix that they like, that they want to surround him with talent with, and believe that he is their best option for winning games. Okay? Moving to the other pressing topic that needs to be talked about, and that is Myles Garrett giving the Browns an ultimatum. All right? So this is what Myles Garrett said, and I quote, "I'm not trying to rebuild. I'm trying to win right now. And I want that to be apparent when the season is over and we have those discussions. I want them to be able to illuminate and illustrate that for me so that can be something I can see in the near future," end quote. Now, this is what I will say, and I'm going to give Myles Garrett a little bit of bail here. When he was drafted into somewhat of a bad team. And since he has been there, they have not got it together. Honestly speaking here, there's probably only been maybe 1 year where you can say, hey, they got it. There's a legitimate chance. And that was the year when they beat, Pittsburgh in the playoffs. When Juju said, the Browns will be the Browns. Outside of that, they've always fallen short to the standards. And you cannot say that the Browns haven't had talent. They've had one of the best defenses in the last 3 or 4 years. Consistently. The offense has been doing their thing consistently, somewhat, depending on who the quarterback is in, okay? When it comes to Deshaun Watson, no. When it came to Joe Flacco, you already know what you was getting with Joe Flacco. Same thing with Jameis Winston. What sense does it make that you have backup quarterbacks who have been more productive with the same weapons that the person that you moved multiple first-round picks for and you gave him the first and only fully guaranteed contract? And what has he done lately? Nothing. The team isn't going anywhere. The starting quarterback is out, for the season. The backup quarterback is basically falling off a cliff. The team right now has multiple positions that need to be filled with young talent. What am I supposed to do? And it sucks for someone like a Myles Garrett who's been holding this team down, who's been staying positive despite the, circumstances that have been around him. But at the same time, it's starting to hit a point where the frustrations are starting to overflow. And at some point, if you are the Browns front office, just trade him. Trade him away. Put him in a better situation to win. Because right now, you don't want him to be in the same situation like a Joe Thomas. No disrespect to Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas is one of the greatest left tackles of all time. And the fact that he was never able to experience an AFC championship, to experience the Super Bowl, to experience any of those different things because of the Browns being the Browns, that sucks. And Myles Garrett probably realizes, I don't want to be that same type of player. Sure, I'll be enshrined as one of the greats, but I want to be able to hold up that trophy. I'm trying to get me a ring. I'm trying to get a chip, and I can't get a chip on this team. And that is the truth. You know that the Browns need a left tackle. You know that the Browns, they have spots that they have to fill on the defense as well as the offense. Not to mention, you don't even know what's going to happen with the head coach. And granted, I understand, they've already said that Kevin Stefanski is safe. I don't believe that, just because of how bad this season has went. But if you are the Browns, and if you realize, hey, we're going to have to go through a rebuild again, and we're gonna need multiple draft picks, Myles Garrett is your option because you know you can garner at least 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett. At least. Now, if you take on his guarantees and a majority of his money, somebody might even give you 3 first-round picks, if we're being honest here. That's just something you have to look into. And Myles Garrett realizes, hey, sure, I won the Defensive Player of the Year that I probably shouldn't have won. We're not going to get into that because then I'll go on a complete rant. Not going to do it. Sure, I'm one of the best pass rushers in the league right now. But what do I have to show if I'm always one and done every single season? Or if we never make it to the playoffs? Or if we never make it to the AFC Championship? It's useless. It's pointless. The amount of time that it takes for him to prepare himself to get ready for the season, to recover and clean up any injuries that may be bothering him in the season, and preparing himself in the summer and all those different things, just for him not to go anywhere, I would lose my mind. I would go ballistic every single time. But at some point, the Browns, you have to admit your mistakes. Same thing with Max Crosby. He's in the same situation. You have 2 of the best pass rushers in this league right now on teams that are not going anywhere, on teams that have gone through multiple rebuilds, multiple head coaches, multiple front office changes, multiple, and they still have not got it done. At some point, they're going to want to go somewhere else and to win. And if I'm the Raiders, move off of Max Crosby. You can get 2 or 3 first-round picks for him. Same thing with the Browns. You can get those picks and you can try to, really build this team in the way that it really needs to be built. Because again, you're not going to go anywhere if you keep on trying to piecemeal, every single season, and then you fire a head coach and then you bring in another head coach that really isn't that good, and they surround the team with, coaches that aren't really that good, and then you underperform and then everyone's upset. It's just a whole bunch of hoopla, okay? But this is the cycle and this is the curse of being the first, especially for Myles Garrett, because I think he was the first overall pick in that draft. But let's get into these games, okay? I'm going to make this thing fairly short. I keep on telling you guys, this episode is going to be short. So, Steelers and Ravens, let's just get it over with right now. So, Russell Wilson, 22 for 33, 217 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 6.6 yards per attempt, and a 66.7 completion percentage. Jaylen Warren, 12 attempts for 48 rushing yards, 4 rushing yards per carry, and 1 rush of 10-plus yards or more. Calvin Austin III, 5 targets for 4 receptions, 65 receiving yards, 16.3 receiving yards per reception. Lamar Jackson, 15 for 23, 207 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 9 yards per attempt, and a 65.2 completion percentage. Derrick Henry, King Henry, okay? He earned his title back this game. 24 attempts for 162 rushing yards, 6.8 rushing yards per carry, and 7 rushes of 10-plus yards or more. Zay Flowers, 8 targets for 5 receptions, 100 receiving yards, and 20 receiving yards per reception. Now, this is what I will say about this game. This was probably one of the best games that the Ravens have had against the Steelers in a long time. Because usually our games, as everybody knows, are low-scoring games. They're the 18-13s, the 20-16s. It's 22 to, 14, or just random crazy numbers, right? But this game was a very dominant, run-heavy game for the Ravens. They dipped their toe in the water. They say, it's not that hot. It's not that cold. Oh, it's just right. Oh, come on in, fellas. Come on in. Do a frog splash. Do a cannonball. Do a 360, no scope. Do whatever. If you know, you know. All my Call of Duty fans, shout out to y'all. But when we look at this, just to be serious here, this was a situation where the Steelers could have secured and locked up the division if they would have won this game. But because they lost this game, they have now left the door open, which is a great song, by the way, for the Ravens to possibly win the division. If the Ravens win out and the Steelers lose, I think, their last 2 games. So on one hand, I understand, all the, Steelers fans' frustrations and whatnot. I get all that. But we had to be real here and we have to be honest. Do you really think we were really going to be able to win that game, especially without George Pickens? We are now seeing what this offense looks like without George Pickens playing. Now, granted, there was multiple mistakes that were made that it never should have happened that, could have probably kept us in the game. But when Russell Wilson tries to, extend a little bit farther than what he should have instead of just sliding and then causing the fumble, it comes back to haunt you. And then not to mention you threw a pick six, which just sealed the game in its entirety. So when you have those two things that happen, and then on top of that, you couldn't stop the run, of course it was going to happen. And so now you are in a situation where you sort of have to, win this game against the Chiefs. And then you're going to have to beat the Bengals. And we all know right now the Bengals are playing with house money. The Bengals low-key could still sneak into the playoffs. Sure, they would need a whole bunch of help. But right now, they are still holding on by the thinnest strand of string that you can possibly think of. Think of it like those spider webs. The spider webs that you don't see, but when you angle it a little bit towards the light, you can see this ginormous spider web. That's exactly what the Bengals are holding on to right now. But if you are the Steelers, you want to try to maintain the third seed and you want to try to at least have home field advantage for at least one playoff game. At least just one. We have to talk about the final game. Chiefs and Texans, okay? This game proved that Patrick Mahomes' ankle is perfectly fine. He is A-OK. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to fear. He proved it because he went on a crazy run. Patrick Mahomes is doing Patrick Mahomes things, especially this time of the year. For the Texans, though, it sucks because you lose Tank Dell again with that horrific, lower leg injury, which was very horrific. I didn't realize how bad it was until I was able to see the replay again. That's really bad. For the people that are saying, CJ Stroud, you can't show emotions while you're on the field. He's human. That's his guy. That's his go-to guy. And to see him, go through everything that he went through, when he got shot at, and then, for him to, lose the season again because he basically breaks his leg again, like, that's a lot. It's going to make you emotional. So I don't understand why people are saying and criticizing CJ Stroud for showing emotions. That's just, that's ludicrous to me. But I'm not surprised, though. Patrick Mahomes, 28 for 41, 260 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 6.3 yards per attempt, and a 68.3 completion percentage. Kareem Hunt, 11 attempts for 55 rushing yards, 5 rushing yards per carry, 1 touchdown, and 1 rush of 10-plus yards or more. Xavier Worthy, 11 targets for 7 receptions, 65 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, and 9.3 receiving yards per reception. CJ Stroud, 23 for 39, 244 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 6.3 yards per attempt, and a 68.3 completion percentage. Joe Mixon, 14 attempts for 57 rushing yards, 4.1 rushing yards per carry, and 2 rushes of 10-plus yards or more. Tank Dell, 7 targets for 6 receptions, 98 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, and 16.3 receiving yards per reception, which is crazy because prior to his injury, Tank Dell low-key was going off. The Texans low-key could have won this game, but ultimately he got hurt, which, prayers to him and whatnot. But for the Texans this season, it's just been a roller coaster of a ride. They have their highs and their lows, just like any other team, but you can definitely tell that the offensive line have definitely played CJ Stroud a lot, especially with his performance. You can definitely tell that, with them losing Stephon Diggs early in the season, it's definitely taken a toll on them as well, which is why they went and they claimed Deontay Johnson yesterday off of waivers. So while I expect the team to, still be dominant, I do not believe they are going to make it as far as they did last year in the playoffs. I just don't. I believe that they have a lot of things that they have to overcome. And I just think right now, when you have a team like the Ravens who are low-key red hot, and you have, the Broncos and the Chargers who are low-key hot as well, and that their fronts are a little bit more, better against your offensive line, you're not going to make it that far. I just don't believe they're going to make it as far. Now, would I have loved for them to make it far? Yes, for sure. Especially, on the defensive side, when you have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson doing what they've been doing this season, of course I would. But, I just don't see it. But I will say this. Most likely their first pick is going to be an offensive lineman because their offensive line has just been atrocious. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. Just know I'm giving you guys a heads up right now. When the season is over, we're going to do something like a gut check. Okay. We're going to go through every single team, give out some recommendations, what positions they should address in free agency and what positions they should address, in the draft. I'm giving you a heads up right now. But the one thing that has proved this season for the Chiefs is we can win in multiple ways. We can win based off of the defense. We can win based off of the offense. We can win, in the most craziest ways there is. Now, I will say this. I do believe the Chiefs do have the upper hand against the Steelers tomorrow. Simply because, if I'm not mistaken, they are still undefeated when it comes to one-score possessions. They're undefeated. Now, some of that is because of, tackles, holding, and putting pass rushers in chokeholds and getting off of the line, 3 or 4 seconds earlier before everybody. And, just putting it out there, just letting it be known, the Chiefs have, gotten away with a few questionable calls, just putting it out there for everybody to know, just want you to, pay attention to that on Wednesday. Just putting it out there, just saying, not assuming anything, not trying to, put out any fake, allegations or anything, but, just want to bring it to your attention. But if I can make a prediction on Wednesday, but between both of these matchups, Chiefs and Steelers and Texans and Ravens, I do believe the Ravens are going to impose their will on the Texans. I think the Ravens are different. I think they, have benefited off of that late bye to, rest, recuperate, get them, get their minds ready and whatnot. Right now, they're on a high. You're on a 2-game win streak. You crushed the Giants, and then you crushed the Steelers. You silenced all the naysayers because leading up to that game, everyone was saying, well, can Lamar beat the Steelers? Lamar has been playing well against the Steelers, which we're going to talk about the MVP stuff before this episode ends. But back to this, though. I do believe it's going to be a close game, but I think the Ravens are going to seal the game defensively. Just putting it out there. Now, for the Chiefs, though, I think that's going to be a hard game to call simply because the Steelers are going to want to try to play physical. They're going to want to try to, play in the mud a little bit. Now, the question is, will the Chiefs be willing to want to play in the mud with them as well? Who knows? But I would probably say Chiefs win against the Steelers 28-19. And for the Texans and Ravens, I would probably say 27-20. Yeah, I like that. Now, for this, I have to bring this up because I'm seeing a little bit of delusion, especially on Twitter, okay? Because people are saying that Josh Allen has locked up the MVP. Newsflash, he has not, okay? With Lamar winning against the Steelers on Saturday, especially the way that he won, that evens things up right now for the MVP race, okay? And if Lamar wins out and he wins the division, by the way, that the Steelers were supposed to win on Saturday, but they weren't able to do it, that automatically gives Lamar the MVP compared to what Josh Allen has done. Sure, you got crushed against the Rams. And yes, you were struggling against the Patriots. I'm sorry. You have to account that, when it comes to the MVP voting. But unfortunately, I'm not on that list, for when it comes to the MVP voting. So, you won't be hearing it from me here. But I'm going to end this episode here. If you guys like what you are listening, please like, share, subscribe. Turn that notification bell on, download the episodes, leave a 5-star review wherever that you listen to the Football Junkies podcast. Now, for my podcast people, we are available on Apple Podcasts, RSS feeds, Spotify, and anywhere where podcasts are available. For my YouTube people, okay, like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts about the Myles Garrett situation as well as the Kirk Cousins situation. And if you would want your team to try to go after Kirk Cousins, okay? Let me know in the comments, okay? Also, for the podcast people, make sure you guys download the episodes and leave a 5-star review so I can be able to give you guys the fix that you guys love and need. For my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod, okay? Football Junkies Pod. Clips. I know. I've already heard it multiple times. Clips. Gotcha. For my Instagram people, Football_Junkies Pod, okay? Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced, okay? It is together, not spaced. Football_Junkies Pod, okay? Now, as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. You guys probably are hearing it right now, but I am completely exhausted right now, so I'm definitely taking a break. Most likely, we probably may not have an episode until the start of the playoffs, is what I would say if there is no news or anything crazy that doesn't happen. Well, we all know I'm probably going to be taking a small break, and then we're going to be back into this thing. So I'll let you guys know. You'll probably, realize it when I put out another episode and whatnot. But I am going to take me a break, get some rest, recuperate, and, be prepared to give you guys the New Year's Junkies fix that we all need to start the year off the right way. Okay, so as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to each and every one of you guys, from my family to yours. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Don't drink and drive. Drink water. Have fun. Be responsible. Peace and love. This is Kale signing out. Later.